Doktor Bayim Abdulla'ya vermek istedim. Hanım Abdullah bugün bize Dagestan'ın Yahudi cımasının vəziyyəti hakkında danışacak. Distinguished chair, dear guests, dear friends, thank you. First of all, I would like to salute you all. I would like to support what Ayten said. I would say that Azerbaijan University of Languages has been hosting Israeli studies for many years, and we have teachers and students who deal with teaching of and studying of Israeli issues and learning and teaching Hebrew language. We're speaking about multiculturalism. I would like to deliver my presentation in my language, in Azerbaijani. The topic is Jewish community residing in Dagestan, the city of Derband. In modern times, we have a historic excursus. We could say that Jewish people settled in Azerbaijan for 2,000 years ago in northern Caucasus. Jewish communities settled in Kaytak, Maharamkand, Makhachkala, Derband, and Temirkhan which is known as Buynaksk in Russian. But currently, in Buynaksk, there are very fewer Jewish people. The strongest Jewish community reside in the city of Derband. If we have a look over the settlement and dissemination of a Jewish community in northern Caucasus, it happened in 17th and 18th centuries. Industrial winemaking happened thanks to Jewish communities and was developed by Jewish communities. However, during the Tsarist time, since all nations were and ethnical minorities were oppressed, Jewish people also underwent pogroms, and for different ages of Russian Empire, Jewish communities were set up for Aliyah. Well, actually at that time there was no state of Israel founded, but they founded their residences in Holy Land or even migrated to the US. However, the historians claim that till 1866, 3 synagogues underwent registrations, and only one synagogue had a rabbi teaching Judaism. After collapse of the Russian Empire, Jewish communities were also oppressed during the Soviet times when it comes to their linguistical skills and opportunities, but they also were registered as Tats, not Jewish. And during the 70s, many Jewish people moved from Dagestan. There are so many facts. When it comes to early 90s, in Dagestan, the Sunday school started operating, 2 synagogues and cemeteries were also available. It's well known that after the collapse of the Soviet Union, the Jewish people experienced so many social and economic hardships, and later, after the outbreak of the Russian-Chechen War, Jewish people residing in Dagestan started migrating either to bigger Russian cities or moved to Israel. As you know, in the history of Israel, there were 5 aliyahs, and the latest one happened in the 90s. And the 90s are also known as the golden age of aliyah. Musicians, historians, the elite of the Jewish community in Russia moved to Israel to follow up their activities. If we refer back to the area of Dagestan, of course, Jewish people had densely populated areas, historically recorded, and the number of synagogues reached 4 in 2000 in Makhachkala, Darband, Buynaks, and one house of worship in Hasavyurt. But sadly enough, they didn't have secondary school or university Hebrew studies, but in 20th there was a Sunday school where Hebrew was taught. Well, besides Hebrew, the culture and customs of Jewish communities are taught to transmit to their generations to come. The biggest challenge is teaching Hebrew to the seniors and elderly populations. As I said, that Jewish people mainly reside in the city of Darband, where they have the strongest community. Darband historians called this city the Jerusalem of Russia, or the Caucasus. We know that Jerusalem is a melting pot for 3 major religions. Darband is a city where the representatives of 3 major religions reside together. The biggest synagogue there is Kalenumas. Historically, they had quarters in Tagizada streets. Truthfully, there are very few Jewish families still residing over there, but anyway, their community is operating. The above-stated Kalenumas synagogue is one of the ancient ones, and in 1911, 5 merchant brothers constructed this synagogue thanks to donations and contributions of Hanukkah. But during the Soviet era and later, this synagogue was partly ruined and demolished because it was not fully operated. But in 2009, local Jewish community restored the synagogue, and its area was extended till 2,500 square meters. In the synagogue, beside the house of worship, there is specific spots for ablution of both women and men. There is a museum complex and shop where they sell kosher food. In 2010, the synagogue was reopened and reintroduced. Any person may pay a visit to the synagogue, of course. According to the Judaism rituals, the man should wear a specific kippah, and women have a specific cover, and with these conditions they may visit the synagogue. Another synagogue is located in the place where they resided densely, but sadly now there was decline in Jewish community. I said that I had a time limit, so I'll try to speak briefly. Sadly, in the previously known city of Temirhan Shura, which is now known as Buynaksk, had the most ancient synagogue constructed in 1866. But nowadays, the synagogue was almost demolished since it was abandoned. Anyway, Jewish people residing in this city try to keep and retain their culture. Starting from 2009, they held a series of conferences, and one of the most interesting conferences were conferences after the outbreak of the project of opening the project of the synagogue in Temirhan Shura, and the project co-workers say that we definitely know that synagogue is very hard to open, but synagogue it's not just a house of worship, it also should operate as a place where Jewish community may unite. Also there is a need for a museum complex. Given the limited time frame, I would say that one of the key event of the conference was Shalom Darband, where they celebrated 2500th Jubilee of the city in the Museum of Religions. Distinguished guests from different cities and countries were invited, and Jewish heritage was introduced to the guests. And finally, in 2011, there was the Promised One Caucasian Festival, where they shed light for the communities of Jewish communities, where there was a series of activities quite naturally. Culture, science, and social life of the mountainous communities in Dagestan are visible in 2013. There was a Mountainous Jews theater. Also, Mountainous Jews are fewer in numbers as compared to the previous ages, and also they moved heavily. They still retain their presence and culture to be transmitted to the generations to come. Thank you for your attention. Çox sağ olun, xanım Abdulla. İndi isə mən sizə minnətdarlığımı bildirmək istəyirəm bu möhtəşəm çıxışınıza görə və qeyd etmək istəyirəm ki, Yəhudi icmaların Rusiyadakı fəaliyyəti hər zaman maraq mövzusu olmuşdur. Yəhudi məsələsi deyilən bir məsələ Rusiya imperiyası zamanı formalaşmışdır və Sovet zamanında qalmışdır və hətta indiyədək öz aktuallığını itirməmişdir. Qeyd etməliyim ki, bu biraz siyasi bir məsələdir, amma biz hər şeyi danışmalıyıq. Biz Rusiyadakı Yəhudi icması haqqında danışırıq və bildiyiniz kimi Rusiyada Soxnut cəmiyyəti fəaliyyət göstərir. O qeyri-kommersiya cəmiyyətidir. Onlar Yəhudi xalqının tarixi və həyatı haqqında seminarları təşkil edirlər. Onlar eyni zamanda müştərək dəyərləri təşviq edirlər, gənc nəslin nümayəndələrini belə bir tədbirlərə cəlb edirlər. Bu tədbirlər nəinki Rusiyada, hər yerdə keçilir və Rusiyada da belə bir tədbirlər təqlid olunur və vaxtilə Moskvanın baş hahamı öz postunu tərk etmişdi və heç kəs bunu şikayət etməmişdi. Çünki heç kəs fikirləşmirdi ki, Rusiyadakı minlərlə Yəhudilərin həyatından